Hello! I do hope we're live, especially after last week's debacle. But I have to wait 20 seconds before I get confirmation that I am indeed live. So, I shall say hello to everybody. That'll keep me occupied because there's so much chat. I'm live! Excellent! Excellent! Hello, Rach. Hello, Renee. Hello, Carol. So many of you with us. Pandemonium's in the house. Hello, Jammy. Lucy. Let me have a look. Let me read that one. Oh, text frustration. Oh, no. Well, hopefully clarity will be provided. That's the idea. Did I see something about South Cheshire just past there? Oh, let me know. Let me know. Right, without further ado, let's get going. Right, so today we are looking at text styles. We are broadcasting in 1080p. Make sure you are receiving in 1080p. There is a cog in the lower right-hand corner of your video. You should have a red flag on it informing you that it is HD. While you are down there, there's a like button, and we like the like button. We didn't get as many views on last week's show, which was a big mistake as far as I'm concerned, given the sausage rolls. But there you go. Which meant we didn't get as many likes. So give us a like, makes a difference. If you have never heard of me, I'm Elaine Giles, long-time Affinity user, since the original Affinity designer. And that was released in beta in 2014. I remember talking to Mum about it. And that was the year that she sadly left us. So a long time I've been using it. Everything that we look at today works on Windows and it works on Mac and it works in the same way. We still have no news on the iPad version of the new consolidated app. When we do, doubtless it will work almost identically in there. Right, so what are we going to look at? Well, we're looking at styles versus text styles. Not all styles are equal in Affinity. Then there is the type of text that we have in Affinity. And then the type of styles that we have. The base style is a special one, so I'll make special mention of that. Then there's the elements of a style, so what can you put in a style? This version of Affinity has a dedicated Typography Studio. Let me know in the chat if you've discovered that. Then we'll be working with styles, so applying them, editing them, deleting them, all the things that you could do with styles. I will show you how you can change the default text styles, and there are 3 different ways to do that. It's also been much requested working with Word files. I very seldom do that. I'm assuming you don't either, Mike. No, Mike doesn't do much of that. But I'm assuming maybe you have existing files that you want to bring into Affinity, or you're getting files with content in from other people that you want to bring in. So I have a Word file. It has styles in it. I will show you how to bring it into Affinity and have those styles travel with it and work. Excellent. Excellent. Right. Okay. Nobody can hear you, Mike. So do you want to say that again?
Yes. Right. Ethan has used the new Typography Studio and Renee doesn't know what it is.
Well, excellent if you've used it. Renee, you will know by the end of the session. So we will be having a Q&A. Put your questions in the chat as we go along. We'll collect them ready for the Q&A at the end of the session. If you can remember, please put a Q at the beginning. It just makes them a little easier to find. And somebody is going to have, shall we say, split attention 90 minutes in, aren't you? Yes, there's a match on. So Mike will be collating those questions. It's also handy if you give us a little bit of context. So, for example, if your question's about a specific dialog box, can you tell us which one? Because one, we will be answering questions divorced from the content. And secondly, we have a delay, even if I was answering them in real time. So it just helps a little bit. Right, we love to read the chat, but please keep it friendly in there. I'm not affiliated with Canva, nor Affinity, never have been. Customer of both, that is it. So, mastering text styles. We're doing this one today because it was the most requested. So hopefully we'll get more views than the sausage rolls. But I'm going to refer you to the sausage rolls. Don't think you've escaped the sausage rolls, because you've not. Right, first of all, there are 2 distinct types of styles, and I'm not talking paragraph and character at this stage. We are at a much higher level. We are at the app level, and I'm talking about what is actually called object styles, that's on the left, and text styles, which is on the right. Bizarrely, they decided to call the panels styles and text styles. I think it would make sense the other way round if you call the text styles styles and the object styles object styles, or at least have some symmetry between them and have one called object styles and one called text styles. Right, object styles apply to objects, so objects that you have drawn, and it gives them a very distinctive look, as I think you can see from the preview there. Now, the thing is, you can apply styles to text. So object styles can be applied to text. How much of a good idea that is very much depends. It can just end up a mess. And if what you want is bold text and italic, that's not the way to do it. So that is why we have text styles. And that is what we will be concentrating on today. Now then, inside Affinity, you have different types of text. You have artistic text and you have frame text. You also have text on a path, which is a variant of artistic text. And those two distinct types of text are not interchangeable as much as you may like to think they are. Each serves a distinct purpose. So artistic text tends to be for headings or titles. Labels may be call-outs. You may decide to use artistic text in a logo. It really is intended for small chunks of text. You would not really use artistic text for an entire page or multiple pages of text. It tends to be a single line, and as you keep typing, it just keeps going. So it isn't really constrained by a box. But it does have benefits in terms of if you want to trim the text down, so really squish it up so you get a kind of condensed look, then artistic text is a very easy and fast way to do that. But artistic text, not really what we're looking at today, because we're looking at text styles, so it's going to mainly be frame text. Now, frame text is text that's inside a frame, as the name implies, and that text automatically wraps to the size of the frame. You can also flow text between multiple frames, either on the same page or multiple pages. It doesn't just have to be in a spread, it could be across hundreds of pages if that's what you want. And that is the best text for paragraphs and long form content. So if it's a magazine that you're making, you'll be working extensively with frame text. The fact that it can reflow is its superpower. You will also be able to see any text that is overset. Overset text is where there isn't enough room in the frame to show it, but it can indicate to you that it's there. It also is the type of text that will align to the baseline grid and any advanced layout rules that you have set up. So frame text is type as content rather than layout. It's using type as content. And this is what we will be concentrating on. So now we know the different types of text you can work with. Within the frame text, you can have different style types. So paragraph styles, character styles, and group styles. Now, most applications that support text styles support paragraph and character. Group is the one that is unusual, and because of that, most people ignore it, but it does have a place and a function. So, how does that marry up to what we see in the interface? Well, at the bottom of the text styles panel, you will see the shapes that I've used there, the Pilcrow, the A and the S. That is where you create paragraph styles, character styles and group styles, hence the little plus to the left-hand side. So there are multiple ways to create it. That is only one way to create it, but that is the in-your-face, in the interface way to create it. Now, group styles are the odd one out. Paragraph styles apply to complete paragraphs of text. Character styles apply to text that you have deliberately selected. Group styles are completely different. You don't really apply a group style. It's an organisational unit. So group styles themselves, it is all about organisation of the other style types. And the group styles can contain paragraph styles, character styles, and you can start to create a hierarchy by including other group styles within groups, so they can be nested. Now, possibly the most important style, because it's there by default, you don't need to use it, you don't even need to have it, is the base style. Now, these styles that we're looking at here are not the default ones, but there is a base style at the top. Now, your style panel may not look like that. I will explain that when we go into Affinity. But the base style is the style that everything else hangs off. And that is what allows you to visualize styles in a hierarchy. And trust me, that is by far the easiest way to work in a hierarchy. But that is not the default way that Affinity wants you to work for some strange reason. But the fact that you are able to use style groups for organisation and you have that base style by default is what enables us to visualise the styles in a hierarchy that I call the style tree. Now, that's not an official term, but once you see the styles represented in the hierarchy, you should be able to see why the term is absolutely perfect. Now, last week with our sausage rolls, other foods are available. This was our style tree, and I included it so you could visualise it. We only had one character style. It was quite a simple recipe that we were styling. We didn't have italic, we didn't have highlights or anything else. And in terms of paragraphs, we had the base style, and within that we had the body. Then we had 2 levels of bullets, one nested inside the other, and 3 levels of heading. And I actually had to manually create the 3rd level of heading before we processed the actual content. Now, I said last time that was fairly basic. I visualised that with a mind mapping application, and it just shows the hierarchy in a very simple example. Now, I have a template that I use when I create training materials. So what I've done this week is create a style tree so you can visualise that. So I have many more character styles. The bullet colours enable me to have different bullet colours. It's really for when you apply a hyperlink, but I have those 2 extra styles. Emphasis is italic. Hyperlink is for a link. I then have menu commands, and obviously I use that a lot in training. And we have strong, which is bold, and strong emphasis, which is bold italic. So many more character styles. But if you think there's a lot of character styles, you haven't seen anything yet. Because in terms of the paragraph styles, you'll notice that everything hangs off the base there, or at least initially it does. But these are all the styles that I have in my template to create training materials. There is a whole range of them, but the fact that they are organised into a hierarchy means that I can visualise that hierarchy. It makes it far easier to work with in terms of applying styles, but it has a secondary purpose as well, which is if I apply a style and I think, whoa, why is that looking like that? It's probably to do with its location in the hierarchy. So I can look at the hierarchy and think, oh, that one should be there, or I should have done something at a higher level. So I will show you that file. We won't be creating anything that complicated today because we'd be here for a week. But that is what I actually use, and that is what many, many documents look like. So let's go and have a look at that in the interface. Right, I'm just going to show you a few things in here. Where's my mouse disappeared to? Before we start, this is the styles panel. I have reset this, so it is how yours is probably set up, unless you've had the foresight to make some changes. So if I were to open a document, what we see in here would be the absolute default. So first thing, let's go and do that. So if I make a default document, I will get some default styles, and this is what that looks like. And you can see that is very different from the screenshots that I've got. What we have at the top is no style. And that is no style in terms of no paragraph style, nor any character style. But then we have the other styles we have in here. So there is our base style, and we have the body and the bullets and all the rest of it. That is not showing in a hierarchy at all. It's also giving us a preview of the styles. So we can see that strong, which is bold, and you can also visualize that the strong emphasis is bold and italic. And it could be that that is what you want to see. That you like to see the fact that you can glance at heading 1 and it's centered, heading 2 is not. You can glance at the numbers and see they're numbered. You can glance at the bullets and see that they've got bullet points. I couldn't be less interested in that. Let me show you why. So I'm going to go in and get an existing document. So I have a master text file here. These are my master text styles. So if we look at the sample in here, you can see I've got level 1, 2, 3, 4, body text, etc. But never mind the content of the file. Let's look at the text style panel. Who on earth thought that was a good idea? Why have I got some gaps? So I can see I've got no style. So they're still in the same place. But then I've got this thing. What's that? That is actually the base style, believe it or not, which you can tell if you hover over it. But why can't I see it? Well, it is there, but the base style, if you look at this, it's brown. It's a very dark brown. And it's previewing it, colour and all, which was fine when we had a light interface that we could switch to. But version 3, and I know not everybody calls it version 3, but this version of Affinity doesn't support a light view. You can tweak it slightly, but it's not a light view, which means that this is completely useless. The gaps, or the gaps that it looks like we've got, are not gaps. There is my body style primary. And as I scroll down, I've got a lot of other stuff here, and I can't see half of it. So that is why I changed the view of this in 3 different ways. I actually change everything to the opposite of the default. But you can see why. How would I know that this style here is my cover style? It's ludicrous. So that is a problem because we have no light view. Or even if we did have a light view, if you don't like light view, which I prefer dark view, then this is what I'm faced with. But in the disclosure drop-down we have here, we've got 3 different view options. And what's causing the problem here is showing the samples. So I will turn that off. Sanity restored. At least now I can see the names of all of these styles. As far as I'm concerned, though, this still isn't very useful, or not as useful as it could be, because I can see the base style at the top, but that's a group style, and you don't apply group styles. When I look at the rest of this, I've got a primary body style and a secondary body style, but everything looks mixed up to me. You know, I've got my 2 bullet 1s and then my bullet 2s and then my bullet 3s, but the primary and the secondary are all mixed together, which I'd either be working with my primary styles or my secondary styles. So this view to me is not as useful as it might be. But we did have 2 extra options. We could sort the styles by type, and we could show a hierarchy of styles. Well, let's sort them by type. What that does is it puts the group styles at the top. They don't have a symbol next to them. Then it lists all of the paragraph styles, and they have the Pilcrow symbol. When you get down to the bottom, and obviously I've got a lot of styles in here, we have the character styles indicated by the A. So, a little bit of an improvement, but not great, because these group styles all contain styles. My body primary and secondary belong to the base style under my body styles. And I can't see that in this view. The last change I'm going to make is to go back and show the hierarchy. So I'm going to have in here, when we look at it, a tick against the first one and the third one, but not the second. The default is the complete opposite of that. No tick on hierarchy, no tick on type, but show the samples. So I completely flip that. This, to me, is by far a more powerful view of this. What we have here, because we have it sorted by type, all of the character styles are at the bottom. The groups are at the top, but the groups are closed. But we can now open those and see that we have a group style called base, another group style called body styles, then captions and cover. My headings are separate in a separate group, and I have step numbers. And my step numbers are, I make tutorials. So I have step numbers where each step is numbered. And that is how that is organized in there. So get to know in here what works best for you. I'm not saying that you have to have it the way I do. I'm saying that logically that works best for me. It means, for example, whereas before all my primary and secondary styles were completely mixed up, if I go into my body styles, I have another group. So we are styling by a tree here. This group has all of my primary styles in. I don't even need to look at the secondary styles unless I'm using them. So that's why I prefer this particular view. So for the rest of this session, that is how I will leave it. I mean, there is literally no point turning the preview on because we wouldn't be able to see the styles at all. So that is what I would do with that. Again, whatever you choose to do is completely up to you, what works best for you. Maybe when they bring the light interface back, should they ever do that, then you may be better with your preview, if that is how you choose to work. But I would say with styles, get used to having in here consistent styles, consistently named. They can look different, but if they're consistently named, you don't have to see a preview. You know exactly what each one is and what each one does. Okay, so what elements do we have in a style? Pretty much anything you want to change how text actually looks. Now, the base style can have a look applied to it. So we're going to edit the base style so we can see it. This text style editor is where you will edit all of the text styles. So at the top, it starts with the style, and we have style, character, typography, and paragraph. Right. The style has a style name, and then it has general information. In terms of what this looks like, this is not the tab. What it looks like is going to be determined by the character section and everything that is inside it, the typography and everything that is inside it, and the paragraph and everything that is inside it. And you can see it's giving you at the bottom a description of your style, and there's a lot of it. A lot of it. And that is the base style. But sometimes the base style is either very simple or completely blank. It's just there for organisation. So we will be spending quite a bit of time inside this editor. Right, at that point, I'm going to say, are there any questions that are relevant at this point? No is the answer to that. So plenty of questions, but not relevant at this point. Okay.
That says, where did that come from? But I don't know what it relates to.
We need context. We need context.
I'm just about to ask her.
Where did that come from? I've got no idea what that could be, even in relation to. Can't even guess, I'm afraid. If you mean the text styles, it could be the panel that you're talking about. All of the panels are within here. And down here, you have text, and that is where you would find paragraph. So it could be that. If not, give us a little bit more context and we'll come back to it. Because if I lose you at this point, the rest of it's going to make no sense.
The menu thing you were just in.
The menu thingy. Okay. The menu was from this drop down. It used to be the burger menu. It used to have 3 lines on it. Now it's a disclosure, sort of half a triangle. So it's in the top right-hand corner of the panel. Now, my panel is docked on the right-hand side, but if yours is out of there, It's still in the top right-hand corner. It is always going to be in the top right-hand corner, and that is where you would get to those. Right, I will put that back where it came from, which I think was there. Right, so next thing I'm going to show you is the Typography Studio. Now, when they released, we've always had the ability to create custom interfaces in the Affinity apps. But with this latest version, they totally changed the concept of it. We used to have personas and we used to be able to save layouts. Now we have studios. And a studio is nothing more than a saved layout. But because of how they've implemented it with custom icons and colours and all weird and wonderful things, people think it's more than that, but it's not. So Affinity now contains what used to be 3 completely separate applications: Designer, Photo and Publisher. They are these 3 studios we have at the top. The Vector Studio is the equivalent of Designer, the Pixel Studio is equivalent to Photo, and the Layout Studio is equivalent to Publisher. And what happens when I click these buttons is the interface totally changes, particularly the tools on the left-hand side. And what it does is bring forward or features in terms of it's in your face what is relevant if you are editing pixel-based parts of your artwork, or vector-based parts of your artwork, or layout aspects of your artwork. But all they are is a saved view, and there are more of them. By default, we actually have the Canva AI. So your interface may look like that with the Canva AI options here. I'm not using Canva AI, that's never happening. So I went in here and I toggled that off. It's still available to me, but it's just not taking up screen real estate when I'm never going to use it. Right. One of the ones that you will all have available, but it's not turned on by default, is typography. So to access this, you can do one of a few things. You could allocate a shortcut key to it. You could click the 3 dots like I've done and choose typography. Or if it's something you use a lot, you can toggle it on so it displays in the interface. So that would be much more useful to me than Canva AI would. So that is what you can actually do with that. I will leave this at the default. We will leave it and use it, right? But we just won't in there have it showing up here. Right, so we are now in the Typography Studio. And what has happened is tools on the left-hand side have actually stayed the same. But the rest of the panels and the layout of the panels has completely changed. So our paragraph panel is now on the left at the top. Underneath that, we have the character panel. So all it's doing is putting these elements front and centre if you're working with your text. On the right-hand side, and it's taking up a massive amount of space that is not needed, we have the typography panel at the top here. We have the glyph browser behind it, which gives you access to characters that you would otherwise not be able to type. Let's go back to typography. Then we have our text styles underneath that, which to me is going to be the most important. I wouldn't have that squished up quite as much. I think these two are taking up a lot of room when, as far as I'm concerned, I'll be working with text styles more than anything else. But that is the same text panel that we had access to before. You also have the pinning panel showing at the bottom, and you would use the pinning panel to pin content to part of your text, which is why it's in the typography layout. So if you are triaging your text, this might be a good studio to use. You can, of course, in here change this to suit you. So as I've said, that text styles, I would have it bigger. The reason that I can make it a little bit bigger. I can show you how it works. You just hover over that until you get a double-headed arrow and then pull down. But at that stage, I'm starting to lose here what's in the pinning panel. And as far as I'm concerned, and we are up to revision 0.3 here, this is broken. Broken is what I would call this. Right, in here, you'll notice that I can scroll. If there's more styles than I've got room for, it'll scroll. there is a little scroll bar. This pinning that we had before, when it was up there, we could see everything that was in it. But I want to see the styles more, so I'm pulling this down. Now I can't see the border on the pinning, nor can I scroll. There is no scroll bar. I have a wheel on my mouse. I am moving it. There is nothing there. That to me is a fault, and it's exactly the same with the data merge panel. So with these things, if you think there should be something there and it's just not there, might be an idea to drag it out and then make it taller so you can see the whole thing. Just a practical issue. Maybe they'll fix it. Who knows? And then I can put that back and size these as I want. I've managed to pull it out again. Bit fiddly, that's why. Set it once and then forget it. But that is the typography layout. I wouldn't spend that much time in there, to be honest, because I'm not going to need all of these options if I've got text styles and I'm just whipping through and applying text styles. But handy to know that the interface is there. So I'm going to switch back to my usual layout, which is the layout view, which has master pages and my pages, and my text styles a little bit bigger over here on the right. Another issue that I have today that you may not have is that I have shrunk my screen so you can see it properly. There's no point me having my 5K to 8K screen here and everything looking like the size of a pinhead. So I usually have much more space that I can see my styles. Another option you've got, if you're using styles, and you've got as many as I have, is to pull the style panel out, make it bigger. You could even put it on another monitor. I have, yours looking at my center monitor, but I also have a right monitor and a left monitor. I could put it on there and make it the full height if I wanted to. So they're just some practical things that you can do with that. Right, so let's go and get a new file. We've already got one, haven't we? There we go, a new file. Right, this was the default. I didn't make any settings on this. I had no master pages, no margins, nothing on it. That's probably not the best way to go with this. It's probably better to have a master page, and it's probably best to have some margins on it just so we've got something to align the text to. So I will do my usual of 10, 10, 10 and 15 and apply that. I've created a master page. That is not automatically applied to this. So let's just apply that master page and then we can forget it's there. So here, if I'm going to put some text on it, I'm going to need somewhere to put the text. So I've got frame text and I have artistic text. Frame text is what we're looking at. So I'm just going to make a frame big enough on there to put the text in. And then I'm going to go and find some text to put in it. I wonder where I put that. I've got some text. So this is a text file and it's got Q&As in it, right? Lots of questions. I think there's 20 odd of them. 20 odd questions in a text format. There is no styles applied to any of this. The only thing we have is some of the questions are numbered and we have some bullet points, but it's just text. So I'm going to select it, copy it, and paste it into here like that. Right, a couple of things to think about. At the moment, I can see the text. I can't see all of it. When I talked about text frames having an overflow, this is what I mean here. We have an eyeball which is red. That is not showing us the overset text. If you click the eyeball, the cross disappears from it and you can see the text underneath. I probably wouldn't want to see that at that stage. We also have this triangle. And the triangle is useful for a couple of things. If we had another page, so let me just add one page after the page we already have. Right. If I wanted that text to carry on page 2, I would need to put a text frame on page 2. Yes, I could have done this on the master page. I just didn't. Right. And I can go into here, click that once, click the triangle once. Move on to the second page, and when I hover over a text frame, it will enable me to run the text from page 1 onto page 2. You even can see here that we have a blue line that links this frame with this frame. But that way madness lies. There could be 300 pages of this. As it is, I don't know how many pages there are. So, pro tip, instead of doing what I just did, which was add a page, then add a text frame, and then go in and manually click it, manually go to the page and manually link the frames, that's going to take a while, isn't it? Hold the Shift key down and click on that triangle once. It will create all the pages you need, and it will populate them with the text flowing from frame to frame. So that's before we go any further. Now we have our content that we can style with our styles. Now, I created this from File New, so everything that's in here is the default. Now, if you've used Publisher, you may be used to seeing more styles than we now have available by default. It's just they've trimmed them down. But we can visualize the tree here. The base style is the the bottom of the tree, if you're with me. Then we have body, which is based on the base style. The bullet styles are based on the base style, as are the headings and the numbered styles. There are 2 bullet styles and there are 2 numbered styles. You'll notice that there's only 2 headings as well. Now in here, that is fine. 2 headings would do me. So this would be how I would style this. First thing to notice is, and this is very often skipped. Don't skip this point. But you look at that and you think, oh, general questions, that's going to be a heading 1. There is a question, that's going to be a heading 2. Indeed it is. But what about this? What about this? I mean, this is but bullets. We go down, what about all of this? Well, that's going to be the body style. Right. But the majority of this is answers. And there's pages of it. If we look at this, we've got text like this, all of that is body text. So we want it styled as body text. But if we start on line 1 and make that a heading 1, and then we've done all of the heading 2s, when we come to format the body, you have to do it manually. You'd have to select it and apply it. So at this stage, look at your content and make a judgment which is the predominant style, which one is applied most. And in here, it will be the body style. So Command and A, select the whole lot and make it body style. Doesn't look like it's made that much of a difference, but it has. I will undo that and show you in what way it has made a difference. If in here I go into my body style and I'm going to edit my body style, you can see that it's based on the base style. So let's have a look what the font is. It says no change. What does that mean? Do we have a font called no change? No, we don't. We have a list of fonts in here. No change means it's going to inherit its font from its parent style, which in here is the base style. So if I go into the base style and I edit that, you see this is based on nothing. What font do we have? We have Arial. Right, let's move it to the side and change Arial to Poppins. And just for giggles, let's change it to a huge size, like 96. And apply it. Well, that worked, didn't it? Actually, it did. It did. Why aren't we seeing it at 96 points? And that's because this text has no style applied to it. No style paragraph, no style character. If we apply our body style now, we have that font. It's changed to Poppins. We can see that in the top left. It's not 96 points. Why is it not 96 points? We said it inherited from the base style. Indeed it did. But when we go into the body style, it has its own size. If that were set to no change, so let's go in and no change. Now it's 96 because no change means it's inheriting it from its parent. Right. Now, where should you set the size? Where should you set the font, the colour, whether it's bold or not. And the answer to that is as high up the style chain as you possibly can, because it makes your life easier. So rather than tell it that I want the headings to be pop-ins and the bullets to be pop-ins and the body to be pop-ins, why don't I just tell it at the base level to be pop-ins? And I think for this, 11 or 12 points would be good. So I'm going to go in and edit this base style. Now, when we edited it to 96, nothing changed. If we now edit this back to something reasonable, like 12, it changes. So what's the difference? Why did it work this time and not last time? And it worked this time because we'd applied the body style to the text. Originally, we hadn't. So let's OK that, and it's starting to pull together. So I applied the body style because that is the most common style. Now I go through my styles and I apply the heading 1s, the heading 2s, the bullet styles, all of the rest. They are exceptions to the fact that generally it's going to have a body style on it. Now, that is straightforward at this point. So the top one is a heading 1. So we just click heading 1 and it applies it. This one is going to be a heading 2. So we'll apply heading 2, all pulling together. Now, it doesn't matter at this stage what this looks like because we can always go and edit the styles. At the moment, it's just a matter of finding where to apply it and actually applying it. And I can see here that all of the questions have numbers and each of those is a heading 2. So we've applied it there. The only other style I think I need in here is the bullet style. Now, it has actually brought these in and it is showing it with a bullet, but it's not a bullet style. So I do have a bullet style and that would apply and make it look like that. So not ideal that I then have to go in, delete the bullet that I already had and the tab. Is it worth doing? Yes, because if I want to change the bullet, I can change the style. So let's go and do it to these as well. And the only reason that it's come in like this is that that was what my text file looked like. It's actually handy that it has some indication to me that they are bullet points, because if it didn't, then I'd be looking through this thinking, were they bullet points or not? So it's handy that they're there, but obviously it would be really nice to be able to process this all automatically. And if you were with us last week for the sausage roll layout, you'll know that that is possible. That could be done with a find and replace. But that is not what I'm showing today. I'm showing textiles today. So this one would be a bullet 1 as well. And then it would be a matter of tidying this up by moving to the beginning of the bullet and pressing delete twice and get rid of it. Now, we've now styled some stuff. We've got the whole of the first page styled. I will style that with a heading 2. Obviously, the styles are going to need editing at some point because we don't want the question on one page and the answer on another. There's no point at this stage in fiddling with things like that until everything else is lined up and laid out to my satisfaction. I haven't said what size I want the headings yet, which would all have an impact. The spacing between these I might want to change. But it is that simple to apply styles. You literally, in here, choose from your text styles over on the right-hand side. There is another way to do that, which is you have at the top a context-sensitive toolbar. All of that is available because at the moment, my active tool is the frame text tool. And at the end, you can see I have a paragraph style and a character style. So if in here I wanted that, let's say Affinity, I wanted that to be bold, that's strong, I can apply it from there or down here. Doesn't matter where I do that from. They are available up there. Right, so applying styles, straightforward. Next thing to think about is editing the styles. So for this top one, I might want that bigger. Now, you may be tempted to think, Well, I could just, that's the paragraph. That's the text I want bigger. And I've got all of these options, and maybe you're used to using that. So you can add to it here. Now it's 24 points. Okay, something's happened at that stage that you may have totally missed. So what I'm going to do, I think there is another somewhere in here. Migrating from, right, that, let me see if there's one on page 2. No, I don't think there is. So migrating from Microsoft Publisher to Affinity by Canva should be a heading. So I'll apply a heading 1 to that. It's formatted it. What size is it? It's 20. We go back to this, and you know that we changed that to 24. Right. This is changed locally. So that is known as local formatting. How do you know that they're not the same? Because they're not even on the same page. It's easy to miss. Here's how you notice. This is a heading 1. Let's look at our text styles. It says it's a heading 1. The heading 1 is highlighted in blue. It's definitely a heading 1. We also have this little thing at the top with a disclosure triangle, and it says heading 1. Now, let's go back to the one we edited. Oh, things are different. At the top, it says heading 1 plus. This says heading 1 plus, and we've got ... This says heading 1. Right. This one that says heading 1 plus, and this at the top of the text style panel, is telling you that you have what are called local overrides applied to it, which means you have your heading applied, your heading 1, but you've done something with it since. And that could be pretty much anything. I've made it bigger, but there would be nothing to stop me changing the colour or anything else either. And what's happening here is the red and the size are local overrides. They are not automatically applying here. Local overrides can be used in certain circumstances, but if you find yourself doing that, ask why. Because maybe you could update the style so everything updates, or you could be thinking to yourself, maybe it's time to create another style. Now, how do you make a decision between that? It depends if it's a one-off. If it's a one-off, maybe you get away with not creating a style. But I think styles are so useful, so powerful, I'll probably make a style. Now, if this has happened, oh dear, what next? This is really what we want it to look like. And we don't want to have to go to the next heading 1 and make it red and make it 24 points. We would like it to automatically update. But is it too late because we've already done it? Well, the answer's no. Because up here, this is what we have, heading 1 plus local overrides. But in here, we can right-click on that and you can update heading 1. Doesn't look like anything's changed on this page. But let's go and have a look at this page. And now it's red and it's 24 points. So you can retrospectively, you've made your changes, and then you think, oh no, that should have been in the style. And a few things happened. This one automatically updated. And if we go back to the original one where we made the changes, you can see that the heading 1 plus has disappeared. The plus is no longer there. Down here, it always said heading 1 and nothing else. It was here where it had some changes. And in there is nothing listed. But if we were to make some more changes here, so let's say instead of red, we've changed our mind, or more likely the client has. Right, let's go for some dark green there, like that. We now have local overrides. And it actually tells you what the local overrides are in this part here. So that may initially just say heading 1, and you might ignore it in the interface. But if you're looking at this and it says, oh, plus, what did I do? And you can't remember, these are the changes. What it's saying is, okay, there is a paragraph style applied to this that is the heading 1. You have also got a local override where you have changed the font colour, and that is the colour you have changed it to. Now, if that is correct, and I now need all my headings to be green, we can do that. You know we can do that. Right click, update heading 1. Straight away, what is in here has disappeared because you now do not have local overrides. We go and have a look at the heading on another page, it has automatically updated. That's a relatively straightforward example there. That was with the heading 1. The heading 2s are going to work exactly the same way. So if I look at this and I'm thinking, okay, that is my heading 2. I think it needs to be a bit bigger, so I'll make it a little bit bigger. And I also think maybe a different colour. In fact, we could probably take that up. Well, let's leave it at 16. Right, in here, I would like a nice publisher-ish colour. Now, I do have palettes for all of this, but this is just a demo. So I'm just going to apply it in there. Probably doesn't work too well with the green now, does it? Let's make that much darker. How would that look in blue? Not bad. Okay, so I've now changed that. So I'm going to go in here and I don't want to edit heading 1. I want to update heading 1. And this one here, I want to update heading 2. So at the moment, we have a local override. In fact, we've got 2. We have a font size of 16 and a colour of teal. But if I right click and say update, it will update all of that, takes away the local overrides and applies it all the way through the document. Now, that is if you want to make changes to your style in the way, in terms of I've changed what it looks like, I've applied a local override, I like the look of it, want to go with that. I will take the local override and write it back to the style. But you could do it the other way, which is right click on it and edit the heading style. Probably best to put it side by side with it. And if you want to make any changes, you can change everything in here. So first of all, remember the style at the top is just the admin info. But there are some useful things in here. First of all, what style it's based on. So where is its position in the style tree hierarchy? You can also say what style should the next paragraph be. Most of the time, if it's a body style, you'll want the next style to be body. But in here, with it being a heading, possibly not. So first of all, let me explain to you what that is doing if we go in here. Right, normally when you have a style, so this is styled as body. If I press enter, the next line is also going to be body style. So this is styled with the body style. We can see that over here. But this is a heading 2. You may expect, if we press enter, to have another paragraph with a heading 2. But look what happens over here when I press enter. It automatically, so this is now a body style paragraph. And that was automatic. What on earth have I put in there? Paragraph. Right. And that was because of how the style was configured. So my heading 2, go and edit it. It's important that it specifies the next style. It makes it easy for you if you're typing content in. Now, it's less useful if, like me and most other normal people, you are bringing in content from somewhere else. Maybe you have a Word file, you have a text file, or more likely, like me, you have a Markdown file. In which case, I would still set it up correctly in here, but it can't automatically apply it. It can't retrospectively. You can't say to it, I'm going to make this a heading 1 and you are going to style the rest of the document. Now, if you are coming to Affinity from InDesign can do that. Affinity can't do that. There are workarounds that I often call a dirty hack. You can process Markdown, but it's a manual job. So that's what you've got in here. The other things that are in here that are useful, which were broken in the last version of Publisher and are now back, is that you can have a shortcut for each style. Now, in Word, you automatically have shortcuts. In here, you can set your own. So for me, if I was applying a heading 2, I would apply it with that shortcut, which is Command, Option, and 2. On Windows, you could use whatever you like. I mean, it doesn't matter what shortcut you use. That's just the one that I use. Why do I use that? Because if I apply a heading 2 in Word, Obsidian, my Markdown editor, it doesn't matter. It uses the same shortcut key. So it might as well use the same one in here. So this is the admin section, but it is actually quite useful. But, and we were going to edit it, weren't we? So let's move it to the side. If you wanted it to be a different font, so let's change it to something really noticeable, like Atlantic Script, you could do that in here. You're not changing the base style and have it ripple through. You're making an exception for just this style. Now, that is not the best one there that we could choose, is it? We want something noticeable that we can actually read. There we go. You can change the style of the font, which is whether it's italic or bold or not. You can change the size of the font in here. You can also change the colour of it. So we had it in there, but I think it would need to be much darker if we're actually going to be able to read it. So we can do all of that in there. So you can either style the text and then write it back to the style, or you can open the style editor and style it as you go, seeing it ripple through here as you do it. So that is how you would edit a style. Now, what I haven't done yet at this stage is create a completely new style. I don't think in this document I would actually need it, but we'll assume that I do. So let me have a look. Let's go to the last page and see what we've got. Right. Notice something else has happened at this stage. Because this is the kind of thing that happens. And, you know, as a beginner, you're like, whoa, just a minute. Right. We, in here, had this set. So it took all of the content and made me all the pages I needed. But now, on the last page, it's telling me there's overflowing text. Well, the answer for 24 is missing for a start. How did that happen? Well, that happened when we formatted the rest of the text. We also made the heading 2 much bigger. And when we changed the size of the heading 1, that also took more space. That is not catastrophic. It is easy to fix. Just do the same thing again. So if I go in there and hold the Shift key down and click that triangle, it will give me one more page and it will populate it with what I need. Now, the opposite could happen as well. So that is more common, to be honest, but the opposite could happen, which is if I go to my base style and I edit it, and we go to the font, instead of 12, let's make it really tiny. Let's make it 5. The knock-on impact of that is that we now have blank pages because the text is minute. So depending on what changes you make, you may need to manually delete some pages or add some pages. And if you're adding pages, I would use that Shift key trick to do that. Right, I'm going to undo that and let's get it back to a reasonable size. Right, so at this stage, I haven't created another heading or anything else. I haven't made a custom style. But let's say that I want to make a custom style. So my coming soon here would be a heading 1. And then this, I want to draw attention to it. So I want to make a style. Again, you've got two ways of doing that. You could either use all of the tools that are available and format this manually, or you could open up the styles dialog and make it in there. So I'll do it both ways. We'll grab this for a start, and my starting point for that would be making it centered. So up here, I can click there and it makes it centered. At this point, that is now body plus a local override, and my local override was center aligning it. At this point, I want to make a style for it because it's now separate from the body. Right, down here, this is where I would choose to make a style. So I can make a paragraph style, a character style, or a group style. Now for this, I'm going to make a paragraph style. And that opens up this. It lets me give it a name. So in this case, it would be something like, I'm going to call it quote, right? So I give it a name and I click OK. Notice at this point, it did a couple of things automatically. Why? Well, first of all, it made the style, but it made it a child style of the body style. Why did it do that? Well, it did that because it was styled with body to start with. So now in our hierarchy, something's happened that we've not seen before, not that we've created. We have at the root the base style, and then the body style was based on the base style. We applied the body style to some text. Then we made a change, a local override. And then we made a style. And it thought, well, hang on a minute. I could make a completely new style that's not based on anything else. But that would, in the future, give you more work, which is, let's say you send this off to your client. Often in my case, that's the priest when the church newsletter gets sent off. Don't like the font. Want a different font. Thanks for that. Well, I can change the font at base level and it will ripple through. And because my quote style is based on body and my body is based on base, everything updates. If my quote style was not based on body or based on base, it would give me grief. I would have to do it myself. Let's have a look at that. Right, I'm going to take this quote style and I'm going to show you how you would take it out of the tree. You do that by saying it's based on nothing. Okay. And look what happened. Whoa, what's gone on there? It's made it a bit smaller. It's not the same font. We've got grief with that. And it's put it down here. So it's not part of the tree. But we can see here that has gone to Arial because it is now not getting its style from base. But that's okay. We can fix it. You can go in and you can edit that. And you can say, I want the font family to be Poppins. And I want the size of that to be 12. It's just centered now. And we fixed it. All is well. All is indeed well, until we get told we don't like the font. And you think, well, that's fine. I'll just go in here and instead of Poppins, I will change it to something radical so we can see a difference like that one, which has had an impact of scooting this up here, but we'll go up and we'll do it. Right. Okay. That was not a good font. It's hideous, isn't it? But there we go. It's changed. But look what didn't. Our quote did not change because it's not in the tree anymore. So don't do that. Make it part of the tree. So let's edit quote. How on earth do we do this? Well, the first thing is set it back to the fact it's based, in this case, on the body style. And then the changes we made, Poppins, set it to no change. The size we made, set it to no change. And click OK. And now it's got that hideous font. And we're going to have to change that, aren't we, so we can actually read it. Well, at least it was a big difference. You could see a big difference, couldn't you? What have we got? Oh, Garamond. Let's do Garamond. Right. You can see now I changed the base style and everything changes, including the style we created. Now, I appreciate for beginners, you've not got much experience with this. It's like, what is it doing and why is it doing it? But these are the rules. This is what happens. And understanding that style tree is critical to formatting a document really quickly. True story. This content that I've got in here, I created. So I wrote it in Markdown. And then I sighed and I thought, oh, it'll take me 3 weeks to sort it out in Affinity to look right. And then I thought, no, it'll be fine. Let's just do some style magic. I took it into Affinity and I had it styled in 10 minutes. The whole thing, which I will show you. I've got it as a demo later. So once you get the hang of this, it makes life a whole lot easier. So we have at this stage used the styles that were there. We've edited those styles. We have created new styles. Right. What we didn't do with this style here, though, was edit it in the window. What we did was created it, formatted it, made it centered, right, and left it. So what I'm going to do here is go and edit that. Now, in what way would I want to edit it? Well, it's supposed to be a quote, so I want to draw attention to it. So one thing I can do in here is I can put an indent on it. So this is under paragraph and spacing. So what happens as I do that, you can see it moving in. So I'm going to make that 20, which is 2 centimetres or 20 millimetres from the left. I'm also going to move this over here, so you can see we'll put a right indent on it and do the same, 20 millimetres, and that pulls it in from the right and the left. Next thing I'm going to do is all the options that you have for the paragraph you have in here, including decoration. Now, initially that is disabled, so we need to enable it. Then we need to tell it where we would like some decoration. Well, how about on the left and on the right? So we've got this little line here. Now that's a little bit too close for me, so I would move it away on the left. It is there on the right, far too close, so let's move it away on the right as well. Possibly a little bit more on the right. Then you get to choose the colour of the stroke. So if you want that to be a different colour, you could do that. What I tend to do is make it a greyish colour because black is very harsh. But you also get to change the size. So you could do it like that. And now you've got a lovely highlight decoration to say this is a quote, pay attention to this. You could also in here, you really want to draw attention to this. You've got a fill option here. What are you doing? There we go. You need to click at the top. By default, that's grey. You could make that, though, a kind of highlighted look like that. Now, I wouldn't do this way for a particular reason, which is the spacing looks diabolical. But that is the kind of thing that you can do with a style. So if I go and just choose another paragraph now, and I apply that quote style to it, you can see what that's doing. It's taking everything with it. But at the same time, my quote style, I can edit the base style and have the font change if I want. So if I go back to my base style and we edit that and we say, no, he's changed his mind again. He quite likes pop-ins now. So let's change it back to pop-ins. Pop-ins being much bigger, so we need to go and find it. There is what we've got here. So all of the exceptions we created, the line at the side, the fact that it was luminous yellow at the back, that remains, but the font has updated. And that is why styles are so very, very important. Right, so at that point, we have created a new style. We've applied styles. We've edited styles. Let's say I no longer think I need that quote style. Now, I would suggest at this point that you are very careful in terms of what you do here. You may think to yourself, I don't need that quote style anymore. I'll just go in and I'll delete it. And you can do that. And now it's disappeared. And it's also taken the formatting away with it. So maybe not the best idea. And if you've got as many styles as you've seen my tree have, definitely not the way to do it. So let's undo that. But there are some styles in here that I'm not using. I'm not using the bulleted, the numbered list for a start. Let me create another style, which I will say is style demo. And OK. And there is my demo style. And again, that is not in use either. Or is it? Actually, it is, because it's lit up. Whereas this here needs to be the body style. So this style, the demo style, is not in use. Neither is the numbered style. I don't think strong emphasis is used anywhere either. Potentially as a last job, and I would leave this until the very end. And I would only do it if your OCD is kicking in. But you do have the option in here to delete unused styles. Now use it sparingly, because they're not doing any harm if they're in there. If you delete them, you're going to have to think, well, maybe I want them back. If you want them back, you've got a problem because you've actually deleted them and they're not coming back. There is a circumstance when I would absolutely use that. This is not that circumstance, but I'm just going to show you that potentially a better way than deleting just one style is if you're trying to do that to tidy up your file, then you can choose to delete it and the demo style went away. So did the strong emphasis though. So if I wanted this, the kind of support to be bold and italic, I now can't do that because that style has gone and I'd have to do it manually and create another style. So there is one circumstance where I would use that option. This is not that circumstance. I'm just letting you know that it's available as an option. Right. Now, it could well be, and in terms of this document, this is very true, that I have some styles for this that would be better than the styles I've actually got applied. So they're in another document. How do we manage these styles in terms of importing text styles? Now, the first thing to remember is, and it's critical, you cannot export text styles. That might come as a surprise because you can pretty much export everything else, including in your swatches if you remember. You are able to export palettes and you can import palettes. Why can't we export text styles? And it's actually a practical rationale. It's totally logical. Where would you export them to? You'd need to export them to some kind of file format that understood text styles. What, like an Affinity file, you mean? So the way that you do this is you don't export styles. You import styles into the current document from another document. Now, I happen to have in my file here in fact, I can show it you in here. So let's do the looking at here. So you can see that I've got two favourites here. I have no idea why the Affinity branding, it doesn't have a thumbnail. It's took one on itself. But this is my master text file. And you can see here that I can open that. And these are my styles. All of those styles we saw in that style tree are listed in here, inside this file. Right. I'm going to close that now. I didn't make any changes, I don't think. Right. But what I'm going to do is import those styles into this document. So you can import, you just don't need to export. All you would need to do is refer to where that file actually is. So for me to do that, I need to know where I put this file. Default text styles. There we go. Awesome. Right, so I'm going in there and I am saying import styles. And in here, I have them in folder 11, which is, these are my default text styles. And I'm going to open that. Now, it shows me this dialog box. Right, this is critical. Right, you'll see that in the file that I'm importing from, there is a base style. And it's conflicting with an existing style. And it's saying, what do you want to do about that? And what it's suggesting is that I replace the existing style. So there is a base style, there is a body style. As we go down, there's heading styles. And what it is saying, and strong, what do you want to do with these? Now, most of the time, well, it's going to be up to you. Depends on how you work, what your workflow is. In this circumstance, just to show you what happens, I will do that. I will replace it. So I didn't make any changes in here. I'm just going to click OK, and it is going to bring it in. And that is, obviously, it's changed the look of that completely. That is how you can apply, or it's the nearest you're going to get to using themes. In terms of, you can keep a set of styles that format it to look a certain way and then bring that in here by importing it. You do not need to export it. So that's why I keep a copy of my default master styles. Let me show you where they are. You know what I'm like. It's going to be in Dropbox. It's in application support. It's in Affinity. And in here, I've got my colour palettes, which we've seen before. You'll see I've got my object styles. And somewhere in here, I have my textiles. Or did I not put it in here? Oh, naughty me if I didn't. Templates. Is it defaults? Textiles. There we go. And there are my master textiles. You can see I updated them about an hour and a half ago. There they are. So I don't export them and keep them there. I just created a file and then made a copy of that file and put it in here. That is the file that opens from this dialog that I have marked as a favourite. That is the file that opens, and that is how I've done it. That means when I'm making changes to that, I make changes to that file and just save the file. Simple as that. So that was importing styles and overwriting them. What else can happen with styles? Well, the number one question that I get, people complaining vehemently of what happens, is just the way that the thing works, which is if you've created something in another file and you choose to bring it into your existing file, it could well bring styles with it. So what I'm going to do at this stage is, I can't be bothered with that. I'm going to have to do it my way, which is I'm going to open the assets panel. These are my assets. Right, in my assets, I have a collection of calendars. You will see these are January starts for 2026. So I'm going to go down to the bottom of this document and say, I'll put a schedule in there, right? So I need February. So I drag and drop February into here. Magic happened, you just didn't notice, which was over here. Let's fold everything up here. We have acquired a calendar creation kit. Whoa, where did that come from? It's a group of styles that I created, and in here I've got day headings, and I've got days, and I've got month headings, and there's February. And if I drag March onto this, March appears as well. So this is another way that styles can get into your document. That is not catastrophic at this stage, but it can become that way. Right, how on earth would that happen? Well, let's go into this group. Right, it's saying that the size is 9 points for the font. Okay, well, that's a bit small, isn't it? So let's change that, and look what happens. It changes February, and March. It changes the bold text. It changes the days. Perfect, let's make it 18. Okay. Right, remember what we've got over here. We have 2 style groups, base, calendar creation kit. And we have some character styles. Okay, but we're going into April. So I'm going to go and drag and drop April into it. Oh no, what's gone on now? Right, now I have calendar creation kit 1. And this is what people scream about. I agree. It should be an option. Right, how that happened, why did it happen when I added April, but it didn't happen when I added March? It didn't duplicate it when I added March. Something to ponder. Right, it didn't happen when I added March because I didn't make any changes before I added March. When I added April, I have not made any changes to that, but the styles that were applied to all of these calendars are not the same as the calendar creation kit styles in this document now. Now, I know that's complicated. Let's do it again. Right, I am going here to undo to the point that I've got February and March. And over here, I have one calendar creation kit group. If I now add April, it has added April to the group I've already got, but it has not duplicated it. I do not have calendar creation kit 1. The only time that will happen, so let's add May as well, let's go crazy. Right, still not happened. The only time it will happen is if I edit this so it no longer matches what is defined in the assets. So we change it from 9 up to 18. We've made a change. It has updated all of these, which is exactly what we want at that stage. But now, when I bring June on, it duplicates it. You're going to have to be aware of that. I have acquired documents from clients who are like, this it's broken beyond repair. And when I look in here, they've got 5 base styles, all with styles hanging off it, and they've no idea what's happening with the style tree. And that is the problem with it. Can you fix this? You can. This is where it's got June applied to it. So what I could do is edit June, and where in its admin thing it says based on, I need to base it on something else. Now, what makes it complicated is that I've got 2 monthly headings in here. Now, one has a tick next to it. I don't know where the other one's disappeared to be honest. I would make it based on that to get it out of the way. So June has disappeared down here, which means, in fact, it's moved everything from there to there, hasn't it? Oh, it's doing really weird things. Right, let's add that under there then. There is an easier way to do it. Let me undo what I just did. Right, it's put it in here, but now it's taken all the styles from Calendar Creation Kit and put them in Creation Kit 1. In that case, we don't particularly need that one, do we? So we can delete that, we can go to there, we can edit that and make sure it's not got the 1 on the end. And we've fixed it. Or have we? Well, we have, but we still have the problem that June is not looking like the others, so we still have to go and edit it. So what I would say to you is there is a way to make sure that this doesn't happen. And I think I briefly mentioned this before. In terms of something like this, if I want the first quarter of the year or the first half of the year adding to my document, I add them all. I add January through to December, drag them on, delete the ones I don't want. My style tree is fine. I can add these in the future and it will all be fine because the styles are already there. So that is just a gotcha that you will probably face. I would imagine you would face that. Right, one question that we had before we even started, right, was about consistent styles, which obviously you see how important consistent styles are with situations like this. So let's get rid of that and get back to our text. And here is our text. Right, we're not interested in the assets anymore. Let's look at the pages. Right. How do you keep a consistent set of styles between documents? Well, you've seen one way already, which is you import those styles from a master file that you have. You don't export them anywhere, you import them. Right, let's show you that. New file, default text styles over here. Don't want them. Want my styles. Now, I could already have put some content in, but don't need to. All I actually need to do in here, we've got the base style and the strong and the emphasis. What I would do with that is go in here, delete unused styles. The whole lot have gone. This document now has no styles in it. But we know that we can import styles. If I go there are my master text styles, open it up. There will be no conflicts whatsoever because there's no text styles in this document. Okay, and now we're set to go. So now I've got my custom styles in here to work with. It's that simple. That is the first method to use. You import styles from a master text file or a master Affinity file. Right. The second way to do that, let's make a new document. Let's say in here I've got some text. So I will put this on just so I've got some text and you can see it. Let's put that there. Right. And in there, what did I have in here? I do. I've got all of that. So there's some text. Right. And in here, I would like my heading 1 to be formatted a certain way. So let's make that a heading 1, make that a heading 2. And I want this to be look a certain way. So in my heading 2, I am going to change the colour of it. So let's change the colour to one of those teal colours, which is more like that. So I've got my heading 2 style and my heading 1 style. We'll make that an in-your-face red so we can see it. So we will change that to red. Now I have these styles, and I would like that to be in every document that I make of this type. And how you do that is File, Save as Template. or have they moved it? Export as template. Right. Now, where do you put templates? So let's say this one is an FAQ. And I will put demo so I know to delete it later. Right. Well, I would suggest you put it in one place, which is the same as before. And in here, I have a template folder. These are the groupings I have. So I want to put it in one of those. So let's say it makes sense in we'll put it in with the assets and save. And now I can Command and N to get a new file, use the Home button, go to my templates, and there is my demo FAQ. When I open that, I actually had content in it as well. I would have taken the content out. But my styles are now custom to that. They are not the default styles. Whereas if I made a new file and I put some text in it and I had a heading 1, so this is a heading 1 and that is a heading 2. If I apply these, they're going to be the default ones, which was centered and not red, and that was bold left aligned and not teal. So what I've done with this document is I've made sure that if something in here is a heading 2 like that, it's going to look correct. So making a template is the second option you have. You have a third option, believe it or not. I would use this one sparingly if I were you, and I would make a backup before you start. Right, this document here has custom styles in it, irrespective of whether I've got any text in it or not. If what you want is a set of styles that every single time you say File New, you have the same set of styles without using a template, you can do that. Set the styles up however you want them and use the nuclear option, which is from this drop down. Save styles as default. What that will do is take the styles from the current file and at application level, make them the default. As I say, that is the nuclear option, because what you're doing is overwriting Affinity's default styles. If you want those back, you can get them back, but you would have to reset things to get them back, unless you are clever and do this first, which is before I do anything ludicrous like that, make a new file. These are the default styles, aren't they? So if I save that into here, and I actually call it default Affinity styles, and then put do not delete, I've saved them. And that way I could open this file and overwrite the ones that I've created. So back in here, I could go to, they're the default ones, aren't they? These are my custom defaults. I would go into here, I could say save styles as default. That would overwrite the defaults, but in the event I ever need to set them back, I open up my do not delete file and I do exactly the same thing. Same save styles as default, and that will set them back to the default. So that is 3 ways that you can work with your styles. You can either import them, you can create a custom template, or you can go for the nuclear option and change the default styles. Right, I've got 2 more things to show you, but I'm aware of the fact that the game's about to kick off. So he's not grumpy at the moment, but it could happen very quickly. I'll make sure that Mike lets us know how the game goes on. Right, next thing I'm going to show you. Question that I get a lot, text from Word. What do I do with text from Word? And I've seen all kinds of things suggested for this. So let me get back to my data. So I've got my Word file, importing from Word, and I will show you the Word file. I know it's styled hideously. Bear with me on this. So it's opening it, or it's telling me it's opening it. It's just doing it on the wrong page. Right, there we go. There is my Word file. The colours and styles in here, this has actually come from Scrivener, but that doesn't matter. It's a Word file. All you need to know is it's a Word file. It is multiple sprints, which are daily small short posts. You can see there's 52 pages of this, and it's got lots of styles in it. We have a heading 1. We have a heading 2. We have highlighted and bold text. And as you go through this, there are, this one is a bulleted list. These are bold and they are applied as a style. So this is what the Word document looks like. These are the styles in the Word document. You can see those in the Styles panel. This is how you would apply them. There are more styles than that. It's showing you what's recommended. But you can see we've got the heading 1, the 2, the 3. We've also got a 4 in there. We've got the unordered list. Now, in Word, the equivalent of the body style is called normal. So we'll have a normal style in here as well, which isn't even listed, but it's this one here. That is the document. That is what it looks like. What you're trying to do is get this into Affinity and have it look reasonable. So, in here. Right, that's my default style, so let's close that. We don't need that. We've got far too many files open. But what I'll do is, I'll start completely from scratch, and there is my file. Now, I am going to need somewhere to put this in terms of like a placeholder, right? It's not a case of opening up a Word file. That doesn't work. So what I'm going to do with this is pretty much what you've seen me do before. I will have a master page. This is optional. It just makes life a little bit easier for me. So what I'm going to do there is set the margins on that and do what you've seen me do before, which is take the master page and apply it there and then forget it's there. That gives me something to work to in terms of a text frame. So there is my text frame. What I now need to do is place the contents of the Word file into here. So up to File, down to Place. Then I need to go and find the file, which is my Sprint Posts file there. I'm going to open that. You know, I don't read what I write, do I? Let me just undo that. There's one thing I need to do first. I forget this every time. Right, we're at the, forget that. You never saw that, didn't happen. Right, I'm at the stage where I've got the text frame. Before I place the file, I'm going to go over here and these are my default styles. I don't need them, nor do I want them. So this is the one occasion when it is absolutely right, nuke the lot. If you are at the point that I am, where you've got no content in here you're worried about and you're working with a Word file. So I am going to delete the unused styles, which is all of them. Then I'm going to go and place the Word file. So let's go and place it. You see, I even left myself a note, but by the time I've got into there, it's too late. Right, here's my document. It doesn't look unlike Word, does it? My heading 1's there. My bold is there. Look what we have over here. We have a heading 1, a 2, a 3. A list unordered. We have normal and bold highlight. Interesting. Let's go find them. Well, there's the heading 1. That one is the normal style, but it's also got bold applied to it. So it's the paragraph style is normal. The character style is bold. Can't scroll though, can I? And that's because I only had one page in here. But you know what to do now. Hover over the triangle, hold the Shift key, and click. It will then create all the pages you need, all 41 additional pages of them. So let's go back up to the top. There is page 1. That's our heading 1. That's our normal bold. That's our normal. In here, that's a heading 2. And it's lighting up over here. And this is normal with bold highlight applied to it. Then we've got another heading 1. Then we've got our list style in here. So it did bring in all of the styles we have and they are working properly. If I wanted here to add another item, I press enter and another list item and it has formatted it the same way. That should tell us, so let's go in and edit it, right, that up here in the business end of it, the next style use the same style. So even that came in. And obviously, all of this formatting came in with it. Now, the one thing that you don't have is a style tree. There are no groups in here. You do not have a style tree. You can fix that but you need to do it manually. One of the things I do, if I'm bringing a Word document in like this, I make sure that the style names match my style names before we start. But if they don't, it's a simple matter, like this normal style, nothing to stop you going in there and saying, well, that's body. In here, that would be body. My list unordered, I wouldn't call it list unordered. In here, it would be bullet 1. So you can go in and just change the style names. If you want to create a style tree, you can do that. The first thing you'd need to do is to make a base style. So we've said it's a group style. Call it base. You now have a base style at the top. Body would be based on base. And this is how you create the style tree. Your headings would, now my headings aren't, but let's just assume that that's what we want. Let's base those on base, and it's that simple to replicate what you would normally see in Affinity. So let's add all of those headings to be part of the base, and the last thing we need is the bullet 1. So edit the bullet style and make that part of base. And now you have a style tree with your character styles at the bottom, and it's a Word file, and everything has been brought in correctly, including things like this that would apply. So if I want to take that and make it bold highlight, I can do that. Now, why didn't you highlight? You swine. Why didn't you highlight? This one did. Oh, don't know why it didn't highlight, but it usually works. It worked in rehearsals, famous last words. It did. So we're not quite sure why that's not working at the moment, but there you go. So that was trick number 1. Trick number 2, I will show you the file that I said I'd use that text for. So what I've got here is an FAQ. So I'm opening that up. This is the actual file. So if we look in here, these are it's exactly the same text as you saw me within a text editor. Right, things to notice. In here, I have a welcome. And from memory, let me have a look. What's what in here? I've got a lot of styles, as you can see. That is a heading 1. Within that, in here, general questions is a level 2. And the questions themselves are a level 3. So these are the questions. You will notice one difference from what we had in the text file. I'll open the text file so you can see it, which is this. There is one difference. In here, when we brought the text in, the questions were numbered. Okay, that's the one difference. But there they are. There are all the questions. Right, there is a table of contents. In here, you can see the structure. Contents is a level 1, welcome is a level 1, general questions is a level 2, these are level 3s. And they are in the table of contents. But why didn't I bring the numbers in? Well, knowing me, I'm going to have, I think it was 24, 25 questions in here. I'm going to think, oh, I've got another one and it needs to go in at number 5. Then I'd need to renumber everything that followed. So don't bring the numbers in. There's a better way. Right, what you can do, and bearing in mind, this is not a bulleted list per se, I need these headings numbered, and you can do that with a style, and it's really simple. This is a level 3, so I right-click and edit it. We've looked at decorations and fonts, sizes, colours, we looked at all of that. What we're looking at now is bullets and numbering. Right, at the moment, this heading 3 is not a bullet or numbered list. But I can come in here and make it so. So I want it numbered. So I say make them numbered. Yeah, good, but no t-shirt. Number 1, number 1, number 1, number 1. What's happening? Why did it do that? It did that because you've not said to it that it's a global list. Now, what's a global list? When you have a bulleted list or a numbered list, it numbers sequentially until you change the style, and then that's the end of the list. If you then apply a bulleted or numbered list to a second batch of text, so this would be one numbered or bulleted list, and this would be another here, it restarts the numbering. 9 times out of 10, that is what you want. It's not what you want here. You want 1, 2, 3, and 4. Right, first thing to do, give this list a name so it knows what list it should be pulling the next number from. So this would make sense to call it questions and make it global. Right, well, that still didn't work, did it? It didn't do anything here. Because what it needs is the restart numbering. It's set to no change. I'm going to say manual only. Only if I tell you to restart the numbering do I want you to restart the numbering. And that is it. You look in here, 1, 2, 3, 4. I do still need to make one more change though, which is, and this is purely cosmetic, don't like the size of the gap. It's a tab and it's too big. So what I'm going to do in there is delete the tab and add a space. And now I have a perfect list. As I scroll through this, we go down, it counts all the way up with these to the end. So if you wanted numbered chapters in a book, that is how you do it, all the way through to 24. With a style, which means if I went in here and I said, oh, I've got another question. In fact, I wouldn't do it there, would I? Because there's only a handful. Let's go back here and say, after question 2, I've got another question. If I format that with my style over here, which was a heading 3 primary, which is that one, not only do I get that formatted properly, but everything else automatically updates. That is why we do not number the questions on the way in. We number the questions on the way out. And that is something else that you can do with a text style. Right, okay, let me head off back into here. So that is what we looked at. The difference between object styles and text styles, the different types of text that you have available in Affinity, the different type of styles you have available in Affinity, including the magic base style. Then there was the elements of a style, and we now have a dedicated Typography Studio, which you can either use as is or customize to the way you would work. Then we worked with styles, created them, deleted them, renamed them, applied them, edited them, you name it, we did it. There were 3 ways to change the default text styles that we looked at, including the nuclear option. And then there was working with the Word files, and one little extra thing, which was automatically numbering questions. Now, you might want to take a screenshot of this, which was how I set up the look of my text styles. So I did show the hierarchy, I did sort by type, and I was not interested in the slightest in the samples because it just doesn't work that well. Right, okay. Everything that I do is available on YouTube or youtube.com/Elaine Giles. There is the dedicated Affinity playlist, which is Affinity with Elaine. That is the QR code for it. And it's growing nicely. We started way back in November with everything you need to know. Then we did a layout. Then we took a sidestep onto deep diving before looking at calendars and planners and photo books, basic photo books with advanced techniques. We then did the trifold brochure and scrapbooking before we looked at colour, and last week was the sausage roll extravaganza. So we did do a layout last week with that, and this one will be available same place in the playlist. So if you've enjoyed that, found it useful, found anything that you will be taking away and using, give it a like. It really does make a difference, and subscribe to the channel. Right, we always have comments, don't we? We do. Now, you can't leave a comment until the live stream is finished. But when you get into your comments, we're going to use the keyboard icon because it was text styles. So just in the comments, put that icon and I'll know you made it this far. Right, what have we got next time? This one was also highly requested, and I think it's because Publisher is going away. Microsoft Publisher is RIP 1st of October. And I have had so many requests for a church newsletter, which is a session I've done before, but not for version 3. So that is what we will be doing next week. Notice It is a day earlier. It is Saturday at 7 p.m, which I know some of you prefer and some of you don't. Rationale being, there isn't much point, is there, in me doing a session about designing a church newsletter on a Sunday. Given the time zone changes, where would everybody be? At church. So we're doing it on Saturday instead. So Saturday at 7 p.m. for that one. So thank you very much for being with us. I hope you found that useful. There are the socials. I did manage this week to find a couple of people who'd sent me a message on Facebook, but trust me, that's the exception. I also found a message from like 2015. Not good on Facebook. You're probably best going to my blog and using the contact form. That would probably work best. There's also my VIP list. So if you would like first notification of all of the sessions and everything else that I do, then that is the URL and that is the QR code for it. So while you ponder that, dare I ponder how the boys are going on, Mike? He's not grumpy yet. It's still 0-0. But there's time, isn't there, Mike?
Yes. Did you give the emoji?
I did. It was a keyboard.
Right.
The emoji
Renee
was a
asked.
keyboard. Yes, it was a keyboard. Standard keyboard. So, do we have questions? And if we do, what are they, Mike?
We do, yes. Samantia is asking how to import Markdown the easy way.
Okay, did that last week in the sausage rolls extravaganza. So what you do is you get your Markdown file, which is in essence just a text file. You place it or copy and paste it, because unlike Word, it's just text. So copying and pasting is absolutely fine. You copy and paste it in, and then you use the find and replace dialog with some magic regex to process it. So what I did last week was we had a heading 1, a 2 and a 3. You have to do it backwards. So I searched and replaced. I searched for 3 hashes and I replaced it with a style. I then searched for a heading 2 and replaced it with the heading 2 style. Searched for the heading 1, replaced it with the heading 1. The regex, for that search and replace is not difficult. The most difficult is for bold and italic. But once you've got the regex, you've got it, you just copy and paste it in. I did get a question midweek. Could you not make a macro for that? Oh, well, trust me, if you could make a macro that worked for that, I would have done it by now. You couldn't do that in the older versions of the apps, versions 1 and 2, because only Photo had the ability to make a macro. I got giddy when this version came out because I thought, here's my opportunity. I can now make a macro that processes the Markdown because the macros are across the board. So I did it. No, it doesn't work with text. Really? Come on. No, but it doesn't. So you can't make a macro of it. It is something that you have to just manually do. Hopefully, fingers crossed, that is something they will fix with the macro editor. There's not much point in having a macro editor that doesn't work on text, is there? But that's where we're at. But it is very simple to do. I'll show you one thing that you can do. So let's get...
Just whilst you're doing that, I put a link into the chat. Am I live?
Yes, you're live.
Yeah, I put a link into the chat with a link to the thing from last week.
Okay, I will just do this very quickly, very roughly. Do I have some Markdown? Probably in last week's session. That would make sense, wouldn't it? Right. Sausage rolls. No, it's a recipe layout, not sausage rolls. I'm not seeing it. Oh no, I've got recipe. Where's the Markdown? Is that the recipe? Are you... No, that's an Affinity document. Hang on, let me find the recipe. There we go. Right, that's the recipe from last week. So you can see it's Markdown. It's a Markdown file. It's an MD file. And we've got a level 1, a 2, a 3. We've got bold. And we have a bulleted list. So all the things you're likely to have. So let's get rid of that. Let's paste that into there. As I say, if you're searching and replacing headings, you need to start with the heading with most hashes in it. Rationale being, when you go into your find and replace, if you were to search for 1 hash and a space, it would return, when I do the find, the 1, the 2, and the 3. That's not what we want, because it would replace them incorrectly. So we start with the biggest number of hashes, which is 3 and a space. That's found exactly what we want. What you would then need to do is replace that with a level 3 heading. Initially, I've got a heading 1 and a heading 2. So what I'm going to do with that is create a new style, which it happens to handily name, heading 3. What I'll do with that to make sure that we know that this is the one is make it bright red, like that. So it's applied that level 3 heading there. Right, and here is our level 3 over here, which is, it doesn't matter, it's part of a heading 2, leave it alone. Right, so there is what I'm searching for, but what do I replace it with? And I replace it from the cog, paragraph style, a 3, which is there. That's what it's going to do. So I found them, then I do a replace, and it formats all the level 3s. What I then do is say, reset the format, and replace all, and that gets rid of the hashes. And then rinse and repeat that. There's a 2, what do I want it replaced with? A heading 2, find them, they're the ones, replace, and take away the format, and replace. And now there's my ingredients, which is a 2, and finally I'm going to do that 1, which is searching for one of these. What do you want them to replace that with? A heading 1, find it, there should be one of them, replace all, it's done. Take away the format, and gone, and replace that, and it's gone. Now it's a little bit more complicated for the bullets, and even more complicated for the bold, but we did it all last week. So you can go and watch last week's, and it's all there. So what else have we got, Mike?
Okay. Mark says, could you provide us with an example of text styles, such as yours, maybe in a PDF file?
Like the style tree, something like that. Yeah, I can sort that out. But it very much depends on the documents or the way you choose to work. So no two people would necessarily have the same styles. It's just what would work for you. There is best practice in terms of, I'm going to make that be a child style of that but the best thing you can do is actually write it out in longhand. If you want your level 3 based on the font of your level 2, then maybe do it one way as opposed to do it another way. But yeah, I can sort the tree out.
Okay, Mike Brett says, can you please touch on the text style shortcuts you show how to make and apply?
Okay, we can do that. Right, somewhere in here I had a file, didn't I? It'd be in that one. Right, so this file is genuine. It's a demo version of a genuine file. All right, so in here, if I wanted to put in another question, so let's add in another question, and that would need to be a level 3. Now, was it a genuine level 3? Let me have a look. Where are my styles? Yes, it was. Right, so I'm typing away in here, and I want that to be a level 3 heading without moving the mouse. And there is a shortcut for that. If you look on the right-hand side here, you can see there are my headings, and they all have a shortcut next to them. A 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, and a 6. I have 2 sets of styles that are identical apart from what they look like, but name-wise, they are heading 1, secondary, 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 whereas these are primary. These have a shortcut, which is Command and Option and a number. And if I go down to the other ones, try and get them lined up, where are the secondaries? Let's get rid of that. Can't see with that in the way. Right, body styles, secondary, but the headings should be in there. Where are they? Fold them up. There we go. Headings primary, headings secondary. And if we open those up, they too have a shortcut key, but a different shortcut. So I want to apply the level 3 to this to make it a question. So I just use that shortcut key. In my case, this is customized of Command, Option, and 3, and it will apply it. What that looks like in here and how it was created was in the style itself, what I call the admin panel. We've got what it's based on, what the next style is, what the next level is, and the shortcut, and that's in there. So if I take that shortcut away, how I would add it is to click in there so it's blue, use the shortcut key, and that's it, it's set. In terms of what I actually have in here set, that shortcut and 1 to 6 are heading styles. if we then go up and look at our primary body styles, you can see that the body style itself is the same two shortcuts, Command Option and 9. The bullets are Command Option and 8, and the numbered are Command Option and 7. The rationale for that is that I only really had 4 left in terms of numbers. I had 1 to 6 as headings, 7, 8, and 9 as these, and 0 to remove a style. In Obsidian, which is my note-taking app of choice, to make a bulleted list, that's the shortcut key. To make a numbered list, that's the shortcut key. So I use the same shortcuts. I use these styles everywhere, and it means that I've basically customized Affinity, that how I would style it, it's second nature to me because they're the shortcuts that I use in every other application. Literally every other application that has headings, I use the same shortcuts. So that is how that works. What else do we have?
Okay, this is from Grace. I have the new Affinity, but need to export Planner to PDF on a previous version, 2.6. It keeps crashing. Can't find any issues in pre-flight. No images, just tables and text. Help. The printer wants PDFX. Can't get to the export panel to change anything. I'm worried I'll mess up a new one if I try on a copy.
Not good. I have no idea what's wrong with that. I have had files corrupt themselves with version 3, which never happened to me before. Anecdotally, I've heard the same. What I would do with that, make a copy of the file and zip it so you've got a copy as is. Have you tried exporting as a package and then opening that? Can you get to the option to do that? Other than that, you could send me a copy and I'd be happy to give it a go for you. But if you're having problems, I would expect to have the same problems. But that is all I could suggest for that without seeing the file.
Okay. I like the handle on this next one, Dog Walker 350.
Oh, we love that. Lola likes that as well.
She does, yeah. For bullet style, how do we change the indentation of the second line after the bullet?
Oh, now that there's a black art. I've actually got a session coming up that is dedicated to just bulleted and numbered lists because it's complicated. Yes, it can be done. Yes, you can set that up in there, but there's a lot of fiddling around and explanation as to where you set it and why you set it, and it's not exactly that logical. So yes, you can do it. Watch this space. Got a dedicated session for that shortly.
And Simon Newt again on bullets. Sorry if I've preempted, but could you demonstrate changing a bullet colour different to the text colour?
Yes, but again, I'll do that in the bulleted and numbered list thing. You need the style setting up, which is the character style, but then you've got a lot of jumping through hoops to try and make it work. The only reason that I tried to do it, and actually did manage to do it, was that in my document, which I think this one's got, I can actually show it you working, which is this down here. Right, these were styled as hyperlink styles, and because there was no text before them, the bullets became the same colour as this, which was incorrect. And obviously, if this is bright blue, you don't want bright blue bullets. So that was why I did it. In terms of how that is all set up, let me see if I can quickly see it in here.
Ricardo says, excellent cliffhanger. It's almost like the question was set up.
Right, well, if you go in here, I can certainly show you that. The first thing you need is a character style, which is bullet colour. So you saw me having that down here. So down here, we got bullet colour primary and bullet colour secondary. Pro tip, they were global colours. All right. The next thing you then need is the style that you've got applied in here, which was, that's hyperlink, isn't it? But this was a bullet. So bullet primary, right? You go down to the bullets and numbering, and in here you set a style, and you can see that I've set that to primary. So I've set it to the character style. So it's a multi-step process, which is why I'm putting it in a totally separate thing entirely. There are so many questions on bulleted numbers and lists. It's ludicrous. I was just really today intending on showing that, yes, I've got a bulleted list style, but you can number chapters if you want. So that's why I'm doing a separate section. I just, it's too much. Unless you want to be here for 5 or 6 hours, and I know some of you have said you do, but there's no accounting for days, is there? So that's how you do that one. That's the short version.
And now I'm grumpy.
Oh dear, he's grumpy. Right. So do I take it that the Arsenal, the mighty Arsenal, have scored?
Mm.
Oh, have you noticed he really is grumpy as well? You can tell, can't you?
Yeah.
Can hear the grump in your voice. Do you want me to confiscate that iPad?
No.
Right. Well, let's have the next question while you watch the replay.
The next question is from Ignacio. Does making changes to an existing style in the I'll have to widen this.
Have you lost the text of the question?
Does making changes to an existing style in the style editor affect the base style?
Not unless it's the base style that you're editing, no.
Right, okay. Pete Lack says, what happens when you apply styles as opposed to text styles to text? I think you were going to mention it, but I was called away.
No, I just said it was going to look ludicrous, which it does. So if we've got something, I mean, if it's a heading like this and you want it to look snazzy, you could choose to do that. So it's object styles. Let's try the Phoenix one. It's hideous. So I mean, that one's got colour on it, but some of them don't have colour on it. They're really styles for objects, and that's what happens if you apply it to the text. So it's the kind of things that you specify in here are not the kind of features that you specify in text styles. These are object styles and object style looks and feels, if you're with me. I mean, if you want it to look like that is so primary school, isn't it? It's primary school, that. But if you want it to look like that, then you can do it. That would be one of the ways if you did want text that looked like rainbow text. And of course, you can increase the text so it might look less ludicrous like that. But it's not really. If somebody sent me that, I'd be thinking, dear, 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 dear me. But there you go. So that is an object style. The text itself underneath is still a heading 1, right? It's got heading 1 plus. So if we go back to the text styles and we go into there, it's now got character outlines and a texture applied, etc., etc. It's important, though, that it is still a heading 1, even though it looks different, potentially, than the other heading 1s, because you may want it to appear in the table of contents. So this demo here, where you saw that no, hang on, not that one. Or was it? Yes, it's that one. Right, this one where I did the numbered questions. It's important because if you go back to the table of contents and look at it, there are no numbers there. But if I click in it and I update my table of contents, the numbers ripple through, and they're rippling through because of the style. So it's important that something is a genuine text style heading 1, even if you want to make it look, I would say, ridiculous, with an object style on top of it. So that gives you an idea of what it would look like.
Okay, SFN says, why do you have a style for each month? Is it for the table of contents? Sorry if I'm being off topic.
No, it just gives you more customization if you want to have different colours for the different months. But again, it's personal choice. You don't need to. And the way that was configured, there is a complete style tree, so you can ignore the months if you want. You don't need to use them. Yeah, I'd have to make a new document. Or did I have... No, I deleted it, didn't I? Let me have a look if I can see those styles. It's probably faster to do a new document and add them, isn't it? From the assets. Right, there's January. That will add it. That will add February. And as I add each of these, it will add them. Right, but notice, let's just make these a bit smaller so we can see them. Right, we can see, that'll do. Right, so we've got January, February and March. Right, if I wanted February, part of the style for February, if I wanted that to be different than the others, then I can edit February. And I could go into there and I could change the font to Poppins and I could change the colour to something else. So let's make that a red colour. Okay. And that changes this heading at the top. It's not changing the others. Most of the time you'd want consistency. But notice what I've done here. The month headings are a style of their own, and these individual months underneath them are children of this style. So if I go into this style and I make some changes, so let's say that we want that to be a burnt orange, and we want the font of that to be, let's do the Alien Encounters, like that, you can see it applies to here, it applies to there. This one then didn't change. If I want February to match the others, I go and edit it, and I go back and I say no change. So instead of that, we would take the tick out of that and OK, and that would apply it and give you consistency. So it's to give you the most flexibility in terms of just changing one, but it's still being a style. But the structure of this is such that that would edit the days. So if I wanted the weekends, so let's edit the weekends, and we'll change the colour of the weekends to be green. I should probably steer away from red because Mike's grumpy, as we all now know. And in our font in here, we'll just make it bigger. So 20. That is mighty big, isn't it? Right, so those are our weekdays. And what we've done in there, you can see all of the weekdays have updated. If you want to do the weekends are available separately for formatting. So if we wanted the font colour of those to be hideous pink, and in our font we wanted that to be bold, you can do that like that, and they ripple through all of them. So it's just for the ultimate in terms of flexibility. But styles are up to you in terms of how you design the style tree to suit your purpose. There's no right and no, well, there is a wrong, I suppose, but there's just varying degrees of correct. What else have we got?
Pete says, why would you change the style for a month rather than just make a local change?
Because you may have more than 1 year in your document. So if you're highlighting that, exam season is June, and you wanted every June to be highlighted in red and probably flashing as well, across a 3-year degree programme, then you could do it for that.
Okay, Lillian says, I'm using LibreOffice to write my patterns and having some problems bringing in the writing. I'm new to Publisher. I think they're OpenOffice files.
You should be able from OpenOffice to save out to a Word file or even an RTF file, which is a rich text format file, and then place that, and that should solve the problem.
Scroll down. So this is from Ignacio. Sorry in advance for a question outside today's session. If we have time, can you show us how to link a Dropbox or OneDrive account to Affinity?
Do I detect that you might not be as grumpy as you were?
Well, it depends if it's been VAR'd.
United have scored, but it's gone to VAR. Right. What was that question again? You've lost the question now, haven't you?
No. Sorry in advance for a question outside today's session. If we have time, can you show us how to link Dropbox or OneDrive to Affinity?
I don't link it. There is an option to do that. I don't. Let me have a look where that disappeared to. Was it a no, linked services. Right. You can link Dropbox this way. I don't do that because I don't need to. I've got Dropbox installed locally and I just use it as a local storage thing. The only service you can link to is Dropbox, and you hit link, it opens up in a browser. So let me show you what that looks like. Looks like that. And you would then click allow and give it permission to view your files. But if you have the Dropbox app installed, you don't need to link it. Now, contrast that with an iPad, where it's probably a very good idea to link it if you want the thing to actually work. I got a question about the iPad version and I was trying to transfer a file. About an hour and a half later, I thought, well, there's an hour and a half, I'll never get back. It just wouldn't open it. So I don't do that on the Mac because it's just not needed. You wouldn't need it on Windows as long as you have it installed. But other than that, that is how you do it. You just click allow and away you go. Simple as that.
Okay, Bob Connolly says, is there a way to check for style overrides on pre-flight?
Pre-flight can be customized, so you should be able to do that if you have a custom configuration. So let me do, let's get pre-flight up. And you have different profiles in here, and you can create custom profiles. So you can edit a profile and then say what you're looking for. So as long as it's in here, you should be all right to do it. Let's have a look if we can find it. We don't even have styles listed, do we? Colours and links we've got. We've got scaling in the text frame. Not seeing styles for overrides. Doesn't look like you can. Not from there. I guess it doesn't matter in terms of, if it's to go to print, it doesn't matter. It's an inside Affinity thing for you to easily update. But I do agree it would be a nice addition to pre-flight. You could then use pre-flight to check for that, whereas at the moment it's pretty manual. I don't know whether they would ever add that or not. They have added things to this, like the QR code. So they may extend it. I'm not seeing anything directly for styles in there. So it doesn't look like you can at the moment. Right.
Right, next one. Joe says, so the trick to import Markdown text is import to Word, then Affinity?
No, not necessarily. If you have text and it's in Markdown format, you can either manually format it. I personally probably wouldn't take it through Word. I see your point. If you can take Markdown and put it in Word and Word interpret it and it create the styles that you want, then you could take it from Word. Word is acting as a conduit, which will give you the styles that you are then able to edit. If you bring in plain Markdown, it's a manual job to format it. I write in Markdown and I bring it in manually. I do not take it through Word. Word could do all kinds of other stuff to it. So I take it in as Markdown. But you saw how quickly I went through that because it's something that I do 10 times a week. It doesn't take long to process it. And the difficult bits are when you're trying to process italic and bold, where you don't want to delete the text afterwards. You can delete most of the Markdown, but you don't want to delete the actual text. But those regex strings I just have in my notes app and I just copy and paste them in. So it's very simple to do. So I don't take it through Word, but you could do if you wanted to.
Okay, another one for Ignacio. If we need two different fonts, for example, for H1 and H2, would that be a manual override?
No, it wouldn't need to be. So if you look at what I've done here, tell me that did not do what I think it just did. Oh, there we go, that's fine. We've moved a slide on, but nothing catastrophic. Right, the way that I have this set up in here, I've got a lot of styles in here now, but let's have a look at the base styles. This one's got a heading 1 and a heading 2, and they're based on the base style. So whatever font is used in the base style is used in the headings. But you don't have to do that, which is why my headings are designed different to that. So if we look at my headings in here, my headings are not part of the base style. They have a group of their own. Within that group, you can see I have heading primary and a heading secondary. Right, that means that at this heading level, if I edit that, you can see in there, that is where I specify the font. And that then applies to all 6 headings, in fact more than that. Because it's done at the headings level, it applies to 12 headings in 2 subgroups. They are all the same. I want consistency. But if randomly I want to make a change to any of these, so let's say our questions in there, let's get down to the questions. Let's say our questions want to be a different font. Then you find the style, you edit it, and where it says font family no change, you just change it. So let's go into we'll have our alien encounters. I'm liking that one. Right, and OK that. And that automatically updates that, but it leaves the 2s alone and it leaves the 1s alone. So you've done an exception at the level 3 level. That's why I say work out what your default is and place it as high up the tree as you possibly can. So for consistency, my font is defined at the headings level. My colour is defined at the heading's primary level, which is why the 6 headings are subordinate to that. So if I go into edit the primary and we look at the colour, you can see that the colour is specified there. So all 6 of these headings are exactly the same colour unless I choose a different colour. And it's the same with the secondary ones, only they have a different colour. So if I open that, you can see the secondary colour is white. So I use that when I've got a dark background. So hopefully that answers that one. Right, let's move back a bit. There we go. Did I see an equaliser and did it count?
Yes.
Excellent. So now he's not as grumpy.
TLC Online.
Oh, I'm liking
channel.
that name.
Thank you for this afternoon. Coming from InDesign, is there a way to get the different line strokes around borders, i.e. one thin line and one thicker line together?
Yes, there probably is. So what you'd need to do if you were doing that, let's just go in there and edit that, is in your decorations, you can have more than one. So you enable it and you set up what you want the first one to look like. So let's say on this one, we want a line on the left. This is our primary, isn't it? And we wanted that 3.5. Right, that's what that looks like. If we now wanted a different one, you could, in the same place, hit the plus at the top, and now we've got decoration 2. And decoration 2 would enable you to do something different. So let's say what we wanted with that is a line across the top, like that we wanted to be thinner, like that we want to move, so not that one. We'd want the top one, go up a bit and change the colour. So you'd go in there and change the colour like that. So you just add more than one decoration. You then edit those by choosing the decoration you want and doing the edit that you need underneath. So that is how you would do it. You've also got, if what it is an object, so say you have an object like that, could be a picture or anything like that, you've got your appearance panel where you can apply a stroke. So let's put, it's got a 10-point stroke on it. That's mighty big, isn't it? We'll put that on and give it a colour. So let's make that a pinky colour. So there's the first one. You can then in here add another stroke. So if we add, and you can add multiple fills and all kinds of stuff with it. So let's put a line on there. Let's make that one yellow so we can see it. And that is another way if it's an object. So let's see what that looks like. So you've got the pink on the outside, you've got the yellow on the inside. So, but that tends to be for objects. But for styles, you would do it in the textile dialog. Okay, what else we got?
Okay, from Jane. If I add a text box and make the text right aligned, how do I indent it from the right? I set the right indent and it doesn't seem to work.
Let's have a look at that. I don't often do that, but we can do that. Right, so let's take that bit there. So we'd want an exception to that. So we'll make a new style for it, which we will call test. Right, so we've got a text style there that is a test. So I'm aligning it to that side. I will update that so it will write that back to it, and then I'll go in and edit it and see what your issue is. So we want here, it wasn't the spacing, was it? Wasn't it the flow? Good grief, where's it gone? Where did I go for this? I do wish this was more logical. I really do. Right, paragraph. Right, left indent, right indent. So if we do that, now you've got this last line that you would need to deal with. So at the moment, that's got no change. If we set that to a right indent of 12, I am assuming we would need to do the same with the last line, and that would indent it from the right. So it's only really the last line that's causing any problems with that. That is indenting from the right. And if you were doing that because it was a quote or something like that, then that's really where this decoration thing would come in, that you would put that on the right, you would minus that, and make that thicker, and then there's a bit of a quote like that. So that's perfect for something like that. You're using the space that you've created to put the line. But yeah, that works absolutely fine. So give it another go.
All right. Pete Lax, what happens if you try and apply a style, not a text style, to artistic text? Can you save that as a text style if it works?
You wouldn't. You're not saving the object style with it, as far as I'm aware. The object formatting with it, because artistic text, I mean, it would let you do it. I think it would let you do it.
He says, I think you answered that one already.
Let's add that there like that. We've got all kinds of weirdness going on now. So let me stick that on it, which is normal. Right, but this is supposed to be artistic text, isn't it? You can apply, as you can see. That's my artistic text, and you can apply a text style to it. Right, you can see in here if I do this. The problem with that is you're losing all of the benefits of artistic text. You can then make this bigger and start working with it in terms of applying stuff like this with it that you can do. But you are mixing and matching oil and water, basically. They are not the same. I would keep your artistic text separate from your text styles, unless you want something that looks like this but is a heading one. In which case, apply the text style first and then the object style on top of it. But I wouldn't try necessarily to make that a mix and match myself. But if we did it, let's update that. And then go and create some artistic text like that. More text. And do that. And we apply that to it. It sort of does. But it does give us a bit of a weird thing with it, that it's blue inside. It's got the outside edge on it. So it does save it with the style, but it's not actually looking like this should look. So this text and this text have the same style applied to it. Now this says text plus hyperlink. This is text plus a load of other stuff. So I would probably have to update that. And over here, to get rid of the fact that it's got a hyperlink on it, if I right click on it, it's already applied, but these options here allow you to clear the character styles. So if I do that, then it looks like this. So you could do it, but you'd have to be very careful because weirdness happens. You are mixing things that were never intended to be mixed. But it could technically be done. You just have to be very careful in terms of overrides and stuff that you've got applied, and know what might happen, what a knock-on impact might be on artistic text if you were to edit the text style. So just be careful with it, but it sort of works. Right. What else have we got?
Okay, from War. How do I make the second line in a numbered list indent equally?
We're back to that
for
session.
Next week.
It's one for the session dedicated to it.
Okay. SFN, shortcut to remove a style. Do you have that in Affinity? If so, how?
You can just lose the style. Let's go and get some text. Right, so this one here has body primary applied to it. Notice that down here you have no style. So you literally just click no style and it takes it away. You could make that have a shortcut key. So Command and 0 would be a good one for that, because I think it's set to that in Scrivener and some other applications. So you literally just apply it. But this style, it would tell you, remove from. Doesn't look actually like that. It doesn't look like you could set a shortcut for that. You may be able to through the system, but there is a style, if you're with me, massive air quotes, a style that is no style, and that will take it away if you want to get rid of it. What else do we
have? Pete Lack says, what are you using for creating QR codes on the Mac nowadays? I'm still on QR Factory, but wondered if there was any other better options.
Well, you can actually make a QR code in here. So you have shapes, and at the bottom of the shapes you have QR code. You can draw your QR code out. This would give you the benefit of it matching. So you can see the colour that it's used here. In here, in my swatches, I have a document palette, and I have another custom palette, which is Life After Publisher, which is a thing that I'm running. So in here, I could change that to my colours in there, which to do that in QR Factory, I'd have to be copying and pasting hex codes. The other benefit of doing it in here is that you can use data merge. So if you were doing badges for a conference, they could all have QR codes on, and then each QR code would be custom to link to somewhere. By default, it links to a URL of Affinity. You can obviously change that. So if I put my blog on there, that will now link to my blog. You can also change the type of the QR code. So you've got text, phone, SMS, email, all kinds of different stuff in there. It's not as fully featured as QR Factory, but it's good enough. The other way to do it is, let me get rid of this and go to my blog in there. So let's bring this on, thinking about it. Right. There is a page. It's my blog. What I can do in here, this is Vivaldi, but most browsers do this. Vivaldi enables me. Vivaldi's got the equivalent of Raycast built in, quick entry. So you use a shortcut key and you tell it what you want. I want a QR code. And straight away create QR code for the active page, and there it is. And all I would then do with it is save to downloads. What that would then look like is I will double click it, and that is the QR code opened up in Affinity. And I could just copy and paste that and use it wherever. The disadvantage of that is it's not as customizable in terms of colours, etc. But it's very fast if that's what you're doing. You'll notice that on the presentation here, I do that with a QR code. So we got that QR code, but this QR code that I'm about to show you, this came from Vivaldi. That is a Vivaldi QR code. So I mean, it's just black sat on white. It'll do on that poster. If I want it more integrated, then I may use a custom one, which would look more like that. But that's what I'm using right now. Okay?
All right. Slummy Rach says, sorry if I missed it, but did you cover how to solve a question being on one page and the answer on the next?
You can sort that out within the style. So I have no idea what document I am on here. But if you find that your question is at the bottom of a page, or it's orphaned like this one, that one is split over the thing. So this should be my heading 3. So there's my heading 3 primary. You would go into here, and underneath your flow, you would keep with the next however many lines, and it would try and keep it together. So I've noticed that this doesn't update greatly. But it does actually work because the real document has this applied to it. I've said keep with the next 2 lines, and it should keep it with the next 2 lines. Do it if it did it with 1. There you go. So I've said keep with the next line. That has then dragged that up, and it's solved the problem. So you set it in the flow options. But I wouldn't do that until you're heading towards the end myself, because other things that you do will have a knock-on impact, and you might find yourself trying to fix it 4 or 5 times. Just depends. So I cancelled out of that, which is why it's gone back. Right.
Last one from Jamie, a bit random, but what is Elaine's favourite new tool or feature of version 3 so far?
That's a tricky one, isn't it? Let me have a think. There must be something. I had high hopes for macros, but they didn't exactly deliver on it. Do you know that I've got a longer list of stuff that they could fix for me. Let's just say that. I guess the best thing is that you don't have to Studio Link anymore. So I've warmed to the studios. I was a bit grumpy that they made the export persona a studio, but I've since remapped the shortcut keys and that works. So I would say the fact that it's an integrated application, but they've got a long way to go even to add back what used to be in the other apps like the light view. Because for people who, I mean, it's an accessibility issue. It's not just people being awkward that they like it light and I don't care. it's an accessibility issue. Some people say it hurts their eyes working with a dark interface. So why they took that away, I really don't know. I'm not a great fan of the grey icons either. And this is so funny. Let me show you this slide. Towards the beginning, I was explaining the difference between artistic text, this one here, artistic text and frame text. So I thought, right, I'm not sitting there drawing these shapes. So I thought I'll go to the help, I'll look up artistic text and I'll look up frame text and I will save the SVGs. Yeah, don't do that. It's wrong. The help file is wrong. So though it said frame text and it didn't have the little circles in the corners. And then it said artistic text and it had the wrong icon. So guess who ended up drawing the one on the left? Because it's just not available. So it's little things like that. The icons, they were far better in colour. And again, it's not, you may have objected to the orange or you didn't like the yellow. But the thing is, it's an accessibility issue. And they seem to have just totally ignored the accessibility stuff. We don't want that one, do we? Let's go back to that one. They seem to just be ignoring it if it's not convenient, which that's not good. It's not good. But the fact it's one application, it's confusing for some people, but it makes working with it faster if you just want to do a quick edit on a photo. I think that is their superpower, that it is one integrated app. What about you? What's your favourite feature of the new one? So, got any more questions or is that it?
No,
Last call for questions.
That's it.
And are you grumpy or not?
No.
And I see Pete says it's become a real pain. They're just bland. And, I'd even forgive them if they'd gone that route to support the light and dark view, because it would be easier for them to take a range of icons that they've designed, so that the new icons, and have them in grey and a much darker colour. Whereas it would take them longer if they were coloured icons. But the number of times that they've broken the interface is just ludicrous. When I last demonstrated the styles, and I said that I use shortcut keys, they'd broken it. The shortcut keys worked. Well, at one point they did, and then they didn't, and then they did. But they'd lost the label on the field. So people were saying, what's that do? And I'm looking at it thinking, that used to have a label. So the number of times they've done that, I think they may have done the bland icons to make their own life easier, but that should have made it easier and faster to give us the light view. And we're getting on to 3 months now. That is a long time for somebody who cannot use it. But there you go. Right, so have we got a reply from Jammy as to what his favourite feature is?
Not that I've seen, no.
Is Kim thinking of going to 3?
Kim's thinking of going to 3.
Is that as far as it's going?
Hasn't pushed the button.
Well, you can use both side by side. If you're on a Mac, just install the new version. It's a completely different app. If you're on Windows and you haven't installed it yet, when you install it to a dedicated folder. It will offer you the same folder that your apps are already in. Don't do that. Keep everything separate. The easiest way is just to tag a 3 onto the end of what it offers you and install it there. You will be able to use the previous apps if you do install to the same folder, but you'll get weird messages about having to log in to your Canva account to do it, which you didn't actually need to do with version 2. So just keep it totally separate, and you can go backwards and forwards between them. Now, obviously, the trip from version 2 to version 3 is one way. So if you've got a version 3 file, you wouldn't be able to open that in version 2. In an emergency, if you've got a problem with it, you could always create a PDF. I have anecdotally heard that a package will open, but I haven't tried it myself. We could do that, couldn't we? I'll try it and let you know. But I'm using version 3. The biggest issue I've seen with it is where the file loses connection with its lock file and corrupts itself. Now, it's happened so often with version 3 and never happened to me with version 2 that I think what issue I'm seeing is that when I'm working, 99% of my files or in Dropbox. And if my internet connection just blips, I think that might be enough to upset the lock file. It might be that, it might not. But I've seen more corrupt files in version 3 than the other, how long is it now? 12 years that I've been working with the app. So you may want to think about working offline with it and make lots of backups. And don't, on pain of death, move a file that's open. That will do it every time. So just that's good practice anyway. You wouldn't be moving a file if you were editing it, but accidents can happen. Normally, if that happens and you think, oh, what an idiot am I, you can move the file back to where it was and everything's fine. But with Affinity, that has corrupted it. So just a couple of things to think about. But I've been using version 3 exclusively since day one because no one wants to talk about version 2 anymore of anything. So I really didn't have a choice. But apart from the blips with the files, I've had no serious issues. Everything's work-roundable if there are any issues.
Janice says the fact it's one app.
Yeah, that to me is the biggest thing. I mean, they may improve stuff in the future, and I certainly hope they do. But the fact that you don't have to think, because if I was in Publisher, I could very quickly switch to Designer and Photo. They were like little satellite apps. But if I was in Designer and I wanted to get to Publisher, not quite so simple. So the fact it's all together is by far the easiest thing from a workflow perspective. But, there's plenty of things that they could fix, and hopefully they're on it. Right, are we done then?
Yeah.
Got all the questions?
All the questions.
Are the boys back out for the second half?
Yes.
And is it still 1-1?
Yes.
Right, I will let you know in the email what happens, whether he's uber grumpy. And I don't really need him uber grumpy tonight, do I? It's Burns night.
Yes.
We're having our Burns night supper, which is haggis and neeps and tatties. And raspberries with cream.
Yes.
So I do not really need him grumpy. I don't want him in the kitchen cooking our Burns night supper grumpy. So I could definitely do with a couple of goals for United. Let's see how that goes. Fingers crossed, everybody. Fingers crossed. Okay, but that is it for this week. Don't forget, next week it is Saturday at 7:00, and it is Design a Church newsletter. Now, even if you're not designing a church newsletter, think of it like the sausage rolls. You'll still learn things. We were looking at laying out a recipe, and what did we do? Process Markdown, which I won't be doing next week, but I will be doing other things that are just as relevant in any kind of newsletter. Probably the only stuff that would be church-only related would be things like bidding prayers. But there again, you're applying a textile, and a textile is a textile. Whether it looks like a bidding prayer or a shopping list, it doesn't matter, does it?
Grace says, did she miss the answer to the question? That was the one about it crashing, because Grace had computer problems and probably missed it.
Right, what was the question?
Where it crashed, and every time they tried to make a PDF, export the planner to PDF, and you said
it could be a corrupt file, but if it's letting you open it, then it's not as corrupt as the ones I've seen. Because when my file is corrupt, trust me, we know about it. It won't open. It won't open at all. There's nothing you can do but delete it. So if you can open the file, I would say that the problem is something else. There may be some degree of corruption with the file, but it's not as corrupt as I'm talking about, which is it's dead. You open it, and there's just nothing there. It won't even open it. If you preview it, there's nothing there. If you try and get into it, there's nothing there. It's just not doing it. If your file will open, but it just won't do something, I think that's a different issue. But like I say, if you want to send me a copy of it, I will have a go and see if I can get anything out of it or fix it in some kind of way. But it's unlikely, to be honest. I haven't been able to fix my own files. Never mind files I haven't created. But I'm happy to have a look at it. Okay? Are we done?
yes.
Oh, I'm thinking that he might, depending on VAR, be about to be a happy boy.
Not grumpy.
Not grumpy?
Not grumpy.
Oh, United have scored. It's 2-1. Excellent. Oh, and if you're trying to do a likely lads and avoid the score, sorry about that, but it's not over yet, is it?
No.
But I'm not allowed to say it's not over yet. Not what he's smiling now. I can tell from the back you're smiling. Oh, good grief. Long may it last for our Burns night supper. But until next week, I'm going to say a good night from me.
And a good night from me.
And we'll both see you next time. Stay safe, guys.